This is a response to Theo Warner's video on examining the question of why atheists are atheists. And really, in that video, you posed the question um, about whether your characterization was a parody and more importantly, if it was a fair parody. Um, Honestly, now I am an atheist myself, and speaking genuinely, I think your parody is fair. Um, Many people arrive at their beliefs, whether they're atheists or otherwise, for a variety of reasons, and not all of them are good reasons. Unfortunately, not everyone examines evidence, but that's true of all beliefs. I mean, religious or otherwise. I mean, how many people do you know that go home to their spouses and they're unhappy? But if you ask them, do you love your wife? They'll say yes. And I think ContraPoints actually in his video said, why do people follow religion? Well, it's a habit, and he's right. Your beliefs are mental habits. Sometimes they're ritualistic habits. So in effect, religions are habits of thought and they're habits of action and behaviors, right? So, a Catholic goes to church on Sundays. He goes to mass. He goes to these events. His belief system and his life basically are mutually supporting. They scaffold each other so that his friends in many cases are going to be, share the same beliefs as him. His family is going to share the same beliefs as him. And for him to prize himself apart from that is virtually unthinkable. It's impossible in many cases. The only time you question your belief system is when you're basically when your world is crashing down. So that is why, for example, whenever you go to something like a Reddit forum, if you go to the atheism forum in particular, you're going to see people, I think, that are probably the people that Theo is thinking of when he thinks of atheists that are basically inauthentic in their beliefs. These are typically young people who maybe haven't spent the time examining the evidence as much as he or I would like. And so they have sort of a reactionary atheism. Their atheism is based on their parental authority figures, and it's a reaction to that. And to my viewing, it's a particularly brittle form of atheism in that uh, it isn't examined. It's not something that's been well thought out. It's only them really venting about their relationships, their interpersonal relationships with their family members and their authority figures in their life. Um, and also there are still those other folks where you hear a Job-like story of somebody who's gone through some awful trials and tribulations, and it's sort of making them question their faith. And in those cases, I'm less concerned about those people because really for those people, those trials and tribulations are merely an inciting incident in their life. It's going to it's the starting point on their journey, and you know that they're probably genuinely interested in pursuing. They're just going to start looking at the evidence that's before them, and they'll probably seek that out. Now, on the other hand, to the point of peer pressure and those who are just merely reacting to it. Very infrequently do you see somebody who's actively pursuing either YouTube or Reddit forum postings that's doing it as a result of peer pressure. I mean, people who are under under peer pressure and who are not authentic in their beliefs don't often post in those, in that type of situation. Those are the people who are just sort of going along to get along. And I think we've all been that person in one social situation or another where you just, you're the quiet person in the background who's just, you're not saying much because you don't want to make waves. But I doubt you're actively participating in any sort of deep, meaningful fashion in that group. Um, Unless you're a complete dirtbag. For example, you're the mostly religious figures who are maybe scamming each other for money. Now, I'm sure they're tacit, lukewarm believers, but mainly they're there to make money. Now, to Theo's deeper point, yeah, people come to their beliefs for a variety of shitty reasons. Very infrequently are those evidence based. When it is evidence based, well, you're probably an atheist. Um, because otherwise, I mean, there's no evidence for anything else.